Hi, thank you so much for joining me again. I rewatched a little bit of my first video and I hope the content is interesting. I'm getting better at trying to do videos, so I feel like I'm talking to you again. I'm trying not to edit them. And also, if you hear any fans in the background, it's because here in BC it went from cold to summer literally overnight. So it's now really hot in the office, but I need to use the webcam. I'm going to try and find a setup for my phone so that I can do it other than in the office, which is 100 degrees because of all the computers that we have. Yeah, so it gets really hot in here. However, things might change because we're moving soon, and we'll have to see what kind of new setup I have. However, on to the next part, and we're reviewing, or I'm talking about, not really reviewing, I'm talking about the four agreements. And so I'll just show you the book again. It's probably going to be backwards because I think I do, yeah, it is backwards. So anyway, four agreements. And I left off with be impeccable with your word. And now I'm on to the second agreement, which is don't take anything personally. Now, this one I thought, ooh, this could be interesting. And of course, right off the bat on the first page, I found something that was interesting. Again, I'm just going over the highlighted portions that I found interesting from each chapter. I highly recommend reading this book. I found it very interesting. And again, I was inspired by friends and Tom Brady to read this book, and I'm glad I did. It gave me a lot of insight into things. And I love things that give me perspective. So on to the second agreement. Don't take anything personally. So the first highlighted passage I have is whatever happens around you, don't take it personally. I say, hey, you were stupid without knowing you. It's not about you, it's about me. Now, if you watched my first video, my example of be impeccable with your word is I used the example of whether someone called you fat and stupid, and then I kept using it. Now, it wasn't the best example, maybe, but people say stuff like that, and so I was going to try and use a different example, and I I just picked up the book and literally turned the video camera on, and so I didn't realize that the stupid part was going to be in here again. But we'll roll with it. So anyway, so yeah, so like I said in the last chapter, it's kind of impeccable with your word. Is it true, and what does it mean? Whereas don't take things personally. Now this is why somebody said something to you like, "Hey, you're so stupid." But if they don't know you, then they don't really have anything to base uh, their opinion on, and really the opinion or what they're saying more has to do with what's going on with them rather than you, because especially if they don't know you or you haven't had any kind of interaction with them, I don't know how someone would come to the conclusion that you're stupid if they don't know anything about you. So the next page I highlighted, you take it personally because you agree with whatever was said. As soon as you agree, the poison goes through you and you are trapped in the dream of hell. I'll just keep reading off the page the rest of them, and then I'll throw my 2 cents in. Taking things personally is the maximum expression of selfishness because we make the assumption that everything is about me, in quotes. Nothing other people do is because of you, it is because of themselves. Yes. Uh, it's hard not to take things personally because, of course, you're going from your own point of view, how you feel about things. So then someone says something to you, and then you're putting all of your stuff on to it. And even if they know you, if they've usually it's negative if you're going to take something personally, obviously. And but not necessarily. But generally, people take in negativity pretty easily, and then they accept it to some certain level, or if they get offended, then it must be about them. And that's where the offense comes in. Because if it's really not true and they don't even know you, why would you take it personally? Why would your opinion matter to me or their opinion of you? So that in itself, about not taking it personally, is just how much stock are you giving this person's opinion? And if you're getting angry, I mean, especially if someone calls you stupid and then they drive off or they yell it from the car, or, it's like, okay. And then you carry on because what does that matter? But people do get caught up in that, and that's where things escalate and aren't very positive, especially if someone said something like that to you. So the next passage is, someone gives you an opinion. Don't take it personally, because the truth is that this person is dealing with his or her own feelings, beliefs, and opinions. If you do not take it personally, you are immune in the middle of hell. So the middle of hell, I had explained earlier that in the beginning, hell is created by how you take life in. Life isn't always roses and sunshine, certainly not. Uh, but at the same time, if you let negativity ruin your day, then you're giving that power to somebody else, and you're really, ruining your day because they're having a bad day and then they have said something. And now they've passed it on to you, but you've allowed them to let it in. And I always tell people when I'm having troubles or I'm sick or, something of that nature, just because I'm having a bad day doesn't mean I have to pass it on to you. If I'm not feeling well, sure, I may be a little shorter or quieter or something, but I don't yell at anybody. I don't, get all mad. And if I do, I try to recognize it right away, because I always think just because I'm having a shitty day doesn't mean I have to invite you into my shitty day with me. And so that's where I think you can't take things personally. And certainly some people in certain services industries have to take a lot of that, and so they've learned not to take it personally. Nurses, doctors, people who are of service to people, because they see them at their worst, and most people don't know how to handle situations so that they don't spew out their things. So if you don't let people in, then they can't ruin your day. And, you can say, I'm sorry you're having a bad day. If you know the person and they're doing this to you, you say, look, I'm sorry you're having a bad day. Please don't say any more to me. Or you can remove yourself from the situation until later on, and you can discuss it, in a more meaningful manner, because if everybody's upset, nobody's listening anyways. So the next page, I have a whole passage. The passage says, it is nothing personal because you are dealing with yourself, not with me. Others are going to have their own opinion according to their belief system. So nothing they think about me is really about me, but it is about them. And then the next one, what are you saying is hurting me? You may, the beginning, I better add it in. I didn't highlight it. But anyway, what may even tell me, Miguel, the author, what are you saying is hurting me? But it is not what I am saying that is hurting you. It is that you have wounds that I touch by what I have said. Yes, okay. So just what I just said, you can tell someone that you're being bothered by what they're telling you, and you explain that what you're saying is hurting. But if it is hurting you, then maybe something in your own insecurities. I guess we'll stick with the stupid thing again. So sorry. But anyway, if someone, you're stupid, if it really bothers you that much, then you've got to really reflect on yourself and say, well, why did that hurt me so much? Do I feel like I need some more education? Do I feel that I'm inadequate? And then if I am, then why am I not doing anything about it? Because this person said something, although it may not be true, I've let it in, and but they've touched something that is maybe bothering me in my subconscious, and they have their opinions, and people have their belief systems, and so they'll say things and give their opinion on a lot of things when sometimes people don't want your opinion. However, we all do it. No matter who we are, we all do it. I think the delivery matters. Myself, even, I ask people lots of questions, and I don't do it in the sense that, oh, well, what'd you do that for? It'd be like, well, what'd you do that for? I want to know, because sometimes I gain insight to what decision process people came to by what they did, and lashing out at people too by saying you're stupid. Well, if I know the person, I'll be like, well, what did you say that to me? What's going on? Why would you say that? Not even just stupid, but anything, just negative, or why would you say that? So those are the things you have to remember, is that some people just say stuff because, they're having a bad day, or they something happened to them, and they just really don't know how to handle it. And so you got to keep that in mind before you get really upset with people, because, I can hear my dad, if someone said, oh, well, this is happening because of X, Y, and Z. And my dad would always say, you don't know that. Because if you don't know for a fact what's going on with people, you don't know what's going on. So why should we be angry right away, or hurt, or upset? Now, it's hard not to sometimes, but then, that's why we take a step back and don't react to it right away. Take it in. Just let it sit for a moment. Why is it bothering me so much? Is it really bothering me that much? Or maybe they're having a bad day and they're having a tough time. But you can still bring it to their attention and say, hey, look, what you said was hurtful, or it bothered me. And would you not say that to me anymore? Or, whatever the case may be. So the next page, you create an entire picture or movie in your mind. Your point of view is something personal to you. Then, if you get mad at me, I know you are dealing with yourself. I am the excuse for you to get mad. Exactly. Because people have a dialogue in their head, always. Everything we do is a tie-in, like there's a thread. We are the thread that ties all of our little experiences together. And our brains are always trying to work on why. It's not a very productive question sometimes. But our brain is always working on things that we encounter in life. And so we try to figure it out, and we try to make sense of it. So if we don't have all of the pieces, then we put in our own beliefs in order to tie it together. Oh, he did that because he's an obnoxious, whatever. And it may or may not be true, but now we don't know for sure. So now we're projecting our own view on them after they've just, said that we're stupid, whoever it may be. And so we try to make sense of it. And sometimes we think about it a little too much. And you shouldn't put that much stock into what people say if it's hurtful or if it's just a flyby. Now, if you're having a conversation with someone and maybe someone's pointing out something, then, maybe you want to listen to them and just take it in and just say, well, what makes you think that? If they say, I think you're kind of, well, I don't know, I don't know how you would take stupid without negative, but, but people say stuff, and if you're having a conversation, at least you have the opportunity to say, well, what brought you to that conclusion? How do you perceive that I'm stupid? So explain it to me, especially if you know the person. But if you don't, whatever, or you can ask your friends later. Just, get some confirmation from some people that actually know you and maybe know what's going on in your life, and then, go from there. But usually, yeah, when people lash out, it's something going on with them, and they just get angry with the world sometimes. You are loving everything that is around you because you are loving yourself. Yes. Now, again, as I said, life is not all sunshine and roses. However, myself, as I said before, just because I'm having a shitty day doesn't mean that I have to pass on my shitty day to you just so that we're in the same boat. So I pretty much, I enjoy life. I enjoy talking to people. Now, is everything all wonderful? No, of course not. But overall, if you are happy with your life and where you are at and what you're doing, then it's not likely you're going to be the person that says to other people, you're stupid. And as he spoke earlier, you are immune to that if you do not take in and take personally what people say. It's like a shield, a mental shield, because no, I'm sorry, my life is going pretty good and I don't have anything to complain about. And, things are going well. So, yeah, so you can be immune to it. And then also, you're not passing it on. I mean, just because someone said you're stupid, now you're going to go get all angry at somebody else and you don't even know them either. So, this is where we have to stop the cycle. So, you need to really think about how your life is and are you where you want to be? And if you're not, then life is a work in progress and it's fluid and it is going to have ups and downs and you're just going to have to roll with it sometimes. And life isn't fair. It is what it is. Things happen, and the fairness comes in again with your own dialogue in your head. So next page. Even the opinions you have about yourself are not necessarily true. Therefore, you don't need to take whatever you hear in your own mind personally. Now, this comes along the lines of self-esteem. And I have talked to people about self-esteem and why. I was talking with a girlfriend of mine the other day, and people have, been in relationships where they feel inadequate, and because of their partner, they're making them feel inadequate. And I never understand why people stay. In my own instance, because I can only reference my own life, my husband suffers from depression. Now he takes medication, and we had a rough time about 10 years ago, and it's been a work in progress. And he did some things that were not very good, and he has said things to me in the past, not hateful, just spewing stuff. Now, does it excuse him? No, he shouldn't have said what he said on certain occasions, for sure. And certainly when we didn't really know that it was depression quite yet, or that it had developed so quickly, we're married. You get a longer shelf life on problems. And I'm not the type of person that jumps to conclusions. I don't want to make any fast and loose decisions. My husband and I have known each other for 10 years before we even got married, so I know him pretty well. And so when I hear about people in relationships, my husband does a lot of things that maybe other people consider lazy, or he's a procrastinator and things like that. Well, all true, because I've seen it happen. However, he is very nice to me. He has never called me down. He has never undermined me. He would never tell me what to do. And he would never be dismissive of me. I care about what happens to him. He cares about what happens to me. Words and situations come up. He doesn't handle them very well. And I usually know when I know he's going to be going through a difficult time, because for him, change is very difficult. And I recognize that. Also, I have a line in the sand, and he knows when he's crossed it. And he's done it once, actually. He's done it once that he crossed the line. I didn't talk to him for 4 days, only because I didn't know what I wanted to say, or because it really bothered me. So I had to take some time to think over what I wanted to say to him. And because he didn't call me down, but he did say some strange things about my family and things, and that was just a little too much. And so after the 4 days, we talked about it, and we did resolve it, and I did tell him exactly how I felt about it and what he did. He recognized it. He apologized directly. And so we cleared the air, because he was really uncomfortable when I didn't talk to him, because I'm usually not like that. But when bad things happen or I'm very upset, I don't say anything. And that comes from my father and I. I'll have to make another video about it, but just briefly, my father and I got into it when I was in my late teens. And he pushed me and pushed me, and why did you do this? And I won't tell you what I did, but anyway, I got in trouble, and it wasn't good. And he's like, why did you do this? And finally I yelled at him and I said, I hate you. And that is not what I wanted to say at all. It could have been further from the truth. And that's what I mean when people argue or take things in quickly and get upset, and then you say things that aren't true. like the person yelling at you to say you're stupid, like my dad pressured me into why, and I didn't really know how to say what I wanted to say because I was young, and I shouldn't have said anything, but I did, and it just wasn't a good scene for a couple of weeks after that. Fortunately, I learned, which is why my husband and I have such a long shelf life on problems, is because my dad didn't fly off the handle. He did it in the moment. However, after a few days, we worked it out. And then after a few weeks, it kind of blew over. And, you know, we worked it out. And we've worked it out subsequently. So, again, I'll have to make a video about that next time. Or another time. I don't know about next time because we still have to get through the book. So, people say things and not necessarily are true. They're just reacting to a bad situation. And, it happens. The matoti is the reason humans hardly know what they want, how they want it, or when they want it. They don't agree with themselves because there are parts of the mind that want one thing and other parts that want exactly the opposite. You have to trust yourself and choose to believe or not to believe what someone says to you. It goes along the lines of, being happy with your life. Um, a long time ago, my mother asked me, "What do you want?" It's a very simple question. However, it's loaded with a lot of things, and you have to ask yourself certain times in your life, what do you want? Um, when I met my husband, I wanted him. I knew right away when I met him. I just knew. I don't know why. I'm not a hokey person, but I just knew that he was the one. Yeah. And so I didn't pursue him in the sense of, I followed him around or anything, but we hung out. And I knew he was reluctant because we met in our early 20s. And, I'm in a wheelchair and it comes with a lot of other things and unknowns because people don't know how to deal with people in a wheelchair or who are disabled. And I don't know why, but I guess they're worried sometimes about offending you, asking the wrong question. I'm pretty much open to anything. Ask me anything. If I can answer it, I will. And there's no guarantee I will answer it, but I'm not usually the one to take offense to things. So I think that's where people get worried. And then, of course, intimacy. That's a big question, of course, with not knowing how to handle things. So, I wanted him, and I was but I didn't pursue him in the sense because I moved to BC after a couple of years of knowing him. He was indecisive, didn't know what he wanted. Okay, well, you don't know what you want, but I do. So I'm moving. He wasn't the only reason I moved to BC. I'm originally from Manitoba. He wasn't the only reason that I left, but he was part of the reason. I didn't see where our relationship was going to go, and as much as I wanted it, I can't force it. And he didn't know what he wanted. So there's no point in carrying on. So I left. We stayed in touch and kept friends and talking, and eventually it all worked out. And but why should I run it into the ground if I recognize that he's not sure what he wants and I know what I want? You can't, just got to carry on with what you're doing and make you happy. And that's what I did. So I ended up moving to BC. But people are afraid to make decisions. They don't feel they deserve it. They can't see themselves achieving it. Or if they do, then they're afraid about maintaining it. And fear is a terrible thing to give into. It usually means that you should do it. And if it freaks you out, then do it anyway. Like this whole YouTube channel. I wasn't going to do it at all. My friend Jean talked me into it. Well, she didn't talk me into it. I shouldn't say that but she felt very strongly that I could do this. And when I started it, I thought, well, you know what? I am afraid to do it. I'm talking to, well, crickets at the moment. Well, no, there's a few of you out there, but mostly I'm talking to nobody at the moment. But you got to start somewhere, right? So yeah, so I did that because I was afraid, because I didn't think that I could do that. But why can't I do it? I'm not the only one who's disabled. There's other people who are motivational speakers that are disabled that are doing exactly that. So why not? If I resonate with somebody, great. And if I don't, well, I had fun doing it. I'm having fun right now. I love sharing information about things that I read. So you got to dive into life every once in a while, and you can't always listen to even the dialogue in your head, because you think you know yourself, but sometimes you don't. And you have to really take stock onto, where I live, what I want out of life, and really be honest with how you want to pursue it. Because if you want it, why not? You don't have it now, and if you don't achieve it by trying, but at least you've tried. You found out that you didn't really like it, or you didn't, really want that, and or it was too much work, or you discovered something else along the way that you do like. So you didn't reach your ultimate goal, but at least through trying, you may have learned something more about yourself that is possibly the truth, rather than the negative mouse wheel that's going on in your own head. So if you take words from other people outside, you've also got to take stock into yourself and realize that you have value. And where you place that value is entirely up to you. The next one, there is a huge amount of freedom that comes to you when taking nothing personally. Absolutely. Freedom? You're stupid? Okay, see you later, buddy. Have a nice day. Didn't feel bad about it. Carried on with your good day. You're out shopping with friends. You're alone. Whatever, and it's like, life is good. I've had lots of people stare at me. I've had people look at me. I'm like, had people, how can you do that? I've had people think that I shouldn't be out and about. All these things. And you know what? I'm still here. And I have the privilege of being here because I have a lot of disabled friends that have been gone since I was at least 21. As a matter of fact, it was 70% of them that were gone out of my disabled friends, which were still quite a bit because we had a hockey team and everything. So there's quite a few of them. And over the subsequent years, the other ones have passed away too. I have one other friend who is still alive at the age of 50 with me. He's not quite 50, he's a couple years younger than I am. We're it, two of us. I am part of a veteran group and at the age of 50. And that started actually just after 25. Because the other two people I didn't actually expect to pass so soon, and one not even at all. Like, that was surprising. And so for me to take in people and, oh, poor me, and oh, I can't do that, that is nuts. I am here. I am able to make choices, and you may have your opinion. I've got mine, and I'm carrying on. And that is an incredible freedom. Does that mean that certain things don't get me down? Or do get me down, sorry. Yeah, sure. A lot of things do. I mean, your own dialogue. I can think, oh, for example, my parents. It's not something about taking it personally. I'm going off the rail here a little bit. But, I mean, my parents don't live with me in BC anymore. They didn't live in my house, but they lived in the same city. And they moved because they felt that was what was best for them. And, I can worry about them. I can think, oh man, my parents are 87. When am I going to see them next? And I can really get upset about the whole thing. But, when I do a self check, I realize, you know what? My dad's safe. He's getting fed and cleaned. He's in a nursing home presently. He just recently, as a matter of fact. And that was tough. For me, though, personally, was only worrying about how he felt about going into a home. He has dementia. And but it's worked out so far. My mother lives with my sister in her own apartment, which is attached to the house. And, my sister is there to take care of her and to make sure she is all right. My niece lives there. So so as I start getting upset about my parents, then I'm like, Crystal, mom is probably sitting watching TV. She's comfortable. She's got her dog Chip next to her. Everything is fine. Spring is coming. They're doing good. And I have to get myself out of that, because otherwise I could be a pool of crying mess. Or even thinking about my friends that passed. Now, do they bother me at times? Sure. When I think about it, and certain things come up that make me think of them and I get upset. But, really, in the end, by not taking personally the things that go through my own mind, I at least managed to get myself out of a bad situation in my head and go, Crystal, you know what? You're here. Get on with it. They're gone, and it is sad, and you had an awesome friendship. And I feel bad for everybody involved that lost them, their family and everything. But really, the best thing you can do is keep going and live your life. And that is the best way to honor yourself and honor others who have helped you along the way, is to carry on with what you're doing. Good or bad, because it is your life. And if you're doing the best you can, then that is good enough. All right. Oh, we're at the end of the chapter. So the last ones are, as you make a habit of not taking anything personally, you won't need to place your trust in what others do or say. You will only need to trust yourself to make reasonable choices. You can say, I love you, without fear of being ridiculed or rejected. You can ask for what you need. You can stay in your state of bliss, and hell will not affect you at all. Hell being a negative perception of life. And yes, because, when you're young and you want to tell this boy that you love him, or that you're in love with him, or you've got a crush, the reason that you don't say it is because you're worried about what they're going to say. But you still feel the way you feel. And it was the same thing when I met my husband. We came to a critical point in our relationship, and I had to know one way or another what we were doing, because otherwise I'm just kind of spinning in my wheels here, so to speak. Oh, sorry for the pun, didn't mean that. Anyway, you just got to say it. And I just said to him, I am in love with you. I want to spend the rest of my life with you, but I need to know where you stand. And I risked everything of not being with him just to find out that answer. And you have to take a leap and just tell people what you need to say. Delivery is important. If it's a negative, somebody's bothering you, you've got to say, look, this is how I feel. These are my reasons for how I feel. Now I wait for you to decide. But I shouldn't take personally what they say. Well, I did this because of blah, 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 whatever. Okay, well, then at least I have my answer of what I asked for. I shouldn't let it be a boat anchor. Once they've told me, I asked the question, I got my answer. Don't take it personally. Try to learn from it, maybe, move on. But if you don't take it personally, then you're not taking it deeply in, and you're not like, oh my God, that's what they said to me. Oh, no. Is it easier said than done? Sure. It depends on the situation, depends on who you're talking to, depends on what you're talking about. But I have found that by just saying what is on your mind and delivering it in a way that makes sense, and that you give some reasons as to why, because you can't just spew at people and tell them all these negatives. You've got to tell them why. There's got to be reasons to back it up, because otherwise, why are you telling them? And if you don't feel it's going to be resolved and there's going to be nothing to be gained by what you say, then don't say anything. There's plenty of things that I haven't said to people because it's not worth the argument. It was an incident. It passed. It wasn't something. If I feel that it is not that important and I haven't said anything, people aren't mind readers. I have to move on. If I do say something and they don't change, then it comes back to me. I have to decide whether I'm going to deal with this person or not. Or not, stick around if things aren't going to change. But to not take it too personally by what people say or what people do is very freeing, because you don't take it in too deeply. Like you can get a scratch or you can get a knife through the heart. But it's your decision on whether one of those two happen emotionally. So that's the second agreement, and that is don't take things personally. I will give you a little advice that the book gave me, and even me, who, try and not take things personally, I wrote a note, don't take things personally, and I put it on the fridge. Because even though if you don't consciously read some things, I have a few notes around my house that I use to try and keep things in mind, because your brain is an amazing thing. And if you just write on your fridge, don't take things personally, maybe your bathroom mirror, because you're there every day to brush your teeth and do your hair or something. Even if you don't consciously read it, if it is in your sight line, your brain is going to pick it up. And it's going to take a little while in order to not take things personally. And it's not about perfection. It's just about trying to make things a little easier for yourself. So don't take things personally. I hope you enjoyed this video. I just saw that it's about a half an hour, 40 minutes. So if you stuck around for this long, I thank you for your time so much. And I will get to the next chapter soon. Hopefully I'll find a cooler place to do it at, although it actually didn't turn out too bad with the fans going. I just hope it's not too loud. I'll rewatch the video a little bit. So the next agreement will be don't make assumptions, and that will be the next chapter in the next video. Thank you very much. Have an awesome day. I appreciate you taking the time out to listen. Take care.